Today, I'm going to give you guys a preview on the NBA playoffs. But before we get started, I want to tell you guys to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share, and to continue to support my channel. We are officially here. The NBA playoffs is right around the corner. We still got some playing games that's got to, play out, and we'll see how, those play out, and, who teams like the Celtics and the Thunder and the Cavs and the Rockets will end up playing. But, there are already some playoff games that are set, and we're going to get into them on this episode today. And the first game, and I'm gonna start in the Western Conference first. And the game that I'm gonna talk about first, I'm gonna talk about the Lakers Timberwolves series. The Lakers being the 3 seed with a record of 51 and what are they, 51 and 31 or 50 and 32? I can't remember. Excuse me for that. But they're the 3rd seed, and the Minnesota Timberwolves with a record of 49 and 33. They're the 6th seed, and record wise they're kind of close. As you guys already know. But it's a fact that this matchup is fascinating to me because I want to start on the Timberwolves side. It's interesting because the Timberwolves have kind of been under the radar a little bit. They made the Karl Anthony Towns trade. They got back Julius Randle. They got back Dante DiVincenzo. And at the time, many people, including myself, criticized that move on the Timberwolves side. Because, at that time, I'm thinking like, why are you moving on from Karl Anthony Towns? Like he's the one of the most skilled bigs in the league, and you got back Julius Randle. Like, how does he fit with Ant-Man? How does he fit with Rudy Gobert? What are you guys doing? You're disrupting your chemistry. And for the first half of the year, they struggled a little bit. The chemistry was off, and they weren't really playing particularly good on either side of the floor. And I thought at the time that the Timberwolves made a whiff moving on from Karl Anthony Towns. But guess what happened? They started playing better. And they started to get their house in order. And they started to develop some chemistry. And quietly, when you look at the Minnesota Timberwolves, they closed the season winning 17 out of their last 21 games. So they finished the season 17-4. And it's kind of weird because it was, they went on a quiet little hot streak when you talk about the Timberwolves. And to their credit, they deserve credit for how they closed out the year. But it's fascinating to me with the Timberwolves because on one hand, you look at their profile, their statistical profile. And when you look at Minnesota's statistical profile, you will find out that in offensive rating, the Minnesota Timberwolves are 8th best in the league in offense. They're number 8 in the league in offensive rating. Defensively, they're 6th in offensive rating. Their overall net rating, talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves, they're 4th. They're 4th in the league in overall net rating, only behind the Thunder, the Cavs, and the Celtics. The Minnesota Timberwolves are 4th. And so when you look at their statistical profile is telling you that the Minnesota Timberwolves are a team that should be taken serious as a team that could, at minimum, get to the Western Conference Finals. That's what the data is kind of telling you when you look at what the Minnesota Timberwolves have accomplished this season statistically. And yet, a part of me just doesn't want to believe in them. And a real reason why I don't want to believe in the Minnesota Timberwolves is because I look at games like they had against the Milwaukee Bucks. I want to say, was it like a week and a half ago? In which, or maybe it was last week, I can't remember, but it wasn't too long ago. They played the Milwaukee Bucks, and they blew a 24-point fourth quarter lead. and they collapsed, and they let the Milwaukee Bucks storm right back, go on a big run, and steal the game from Minnesota. They end up winning the game. And every time I think about the Minnesota Timberwolves, I can't get that thought right out of my head as to how they are prone, despite how good they've been, especially the second half of the year, that how prone they are to just blowing games and making mental errors and doing just incomprehensible things on the floor. You know, there are times when Anthony Edwards can get a little turnover prone. He's making bad decisions, or Jaden McDaniels is making bad decisions, or Julius Randle's forcing up a shot, or whatever the case may be. Which brings me to the Lakers, because that's who the Minnesota Timberwolves are playing. And when I look at this matchup with the Lakers, I look at the fact that with the Lakers, and kudos to the Lakers for the season that they've had, because J.J. Redick, I thought, has done an unbelievable job of getting this team together, developing chemistry, despite the little injuries that they've had. And we all know they made the Luka Doncic trade. And look, I'm still like, well, we're now, what, 2.5 months later? Like, I still can't believe Luka Doncic is a Los Angeles Laker. I mean, I'm still flabbergasted that Luka's a Laker, but he's a Laker. And the Lakers have developed chemistry, and Luka's been playing a lot better as of late. He's strung together a few 30-plus point games, and he's been more efficient, and you know, he's playing like the all-NBA caliber top 5 player that we know Luka Doncic to be. And so he's been playing well. LeBron's been playing well, and Austin Reeves, who I believe is probably one of the more underrated players in the league at this point. I mean, the guy is just becoming a star. And he's been really good as like that third option, even at times maybe even a second option, you know, on the Lakers. And so you got a nice little three-handed tandem at the perimeter spots. And it makes me wonder, like, how will the Minnesota Timberwolves guard LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves? And it's going to be tough, because there's just with the perimeter tandem that the Lakers have with those three, like, they can attack any. It's hard to put your worst defender on an Austin Reeves, you know, because you're not like Mike Conley, because he's Minnesota's worst defender. Who do you put him on? You know, do you put him on Austin Reeves? Austin Reeves is 6'5", 6'6". Like, he's a guy that can get busy on you and cook you. You know what I'm saying? Do you put Mike Conley on Rui Hachimura? He's a 6'8" power forward. You know, and so the matchups, I think, favor the Lakers, because they can space you out a little bit. Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves can pull Rudy Gobert away from the basket, and all of a sudden there's just driving lanes all the way to the basket, and all of a sudden, you know, you're drawing and kicking, and guys are open for threes, and so when you have that ability to play small, which is what the Lakers have done, you know, with not just Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves, but Rui Hachimura. You got Dorian Finney-Smith, who's been an incredible addition to the Lakers. He's helped fortify their defense, and he gives the Lakers more versatility to play with bigger lineups. And so he's been huge. And Jackson Hayes has been steadying the fort at the center position. And so when you have guys like that, you know, you got Vincent, who's done his thing for the Lakers this year defensively as well. I think it's a tough matchup for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I really do. Because it's like, who do you guard? Like, how do you control, you know, they're gonna pull Rudy Gobert out the paint. You know, how do you handle that? You know, who's gonna guard, you know, if Jaden McDaniels is guarding Luka Doncic, who's gonna guard LeBron? Are you gonna put Anthony Edwards on LeBron? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's tough. It's a tough matchup. You know, Julius Randle, who does he guard? So I think there's some matchup advantages that I think the Lakers have in this series that I think they could exploit on Minnesota's end. But on the flip side, you look at Minnesota, who's going to guard Anthony Edwards on the Lakers? I don't think Luka can guard Ant-Man. You going to put Austin Reeves on Ant-Man? Or are you going to put LeBron on Ant-Man? I don't think Rui Hachimura can guard Anthony Edwards. And so on the flip side, you could make the argument that, like, who on the Lakers can guard Anthony Edwards? And I think their best guy is Dorian Finney-Smith, maybe? Probably? And so I think that's something to look forward to. J.J. Redick is going to come up with a game plan. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw J.J. Redick send a bunch of blitzes and double teams at Anthony Edwards to get the ball out of his hands. And, that'd be something to wonder about as well. So it's a fascinating matchup on both ends. But at the end of the day, when I look at this matchup between the Lakers and the T-Wolves, in the words of Shannon Sharp, Ant-Man, Superman, Batman, Joanna Man, Lakers in 5. And that's my prediction for that series. I have Lakers in 5. Yeah, that's right. I got the Los Angeles Lakers winning that series in 5 games. For the simple fact that I think this series is gonna be close. And I just think at the end of the day, when I look at Minnesota, I don't trust them in a close game. And look, maybe I'm overreacting to one game, but I just can't get the thought of my head of Minnesota in a close game when they blew that game to the Milwaukee Bucks. And I'm just imagining myself in a close game. Who do you trust in a close game? Who do you trust to execute down the stretch, to make good decisions? Do you trust Anthony Edwards or Julius Randle or Jaden McDaniels or Rudy Gobert? Or do you trust LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, Dorian Finney-Smith? Who do you trust? And for me, I'm trusting Luka Doncic, LeBron James, Austin Reeves, Dorian Finney-Smith, Rui Hachimura to out-execute Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, Mike Conley. Like, I'm just am. No disrespect. I'm just am. I'm trusting the Lakers. And so, like I said, Ant-Man, Batman, Spider-Man, Joanna Man, Superman, Lakers in 5. That's my prediction for that series. Now to the other series that's out right now, and that other series is the Clippers and the Denver Nuggets. And look, man, like I said a couple of episodes ago, I'm all in on the Los Angeles Clippers. I'm all the way in on the Clippers. And as y'all, as y'all saw over the weekend, the Clippers beat the Golden State Warriors, which means the Golden State Warriors are going to have to play in the play-in and they have to win a play-in game for them to get a playoff spot, while the Los Angeles Clippers are the 5th seed, and they got the Denver Nuggets. And so this is a fascinating matchup. Like I said, the Clippers are the 5 seed, the Nuggets are the 4 seed. And look, to me, man, like I love the Clippers. I'm super high on the Clippers. I'm so high on the Clippers, I'm actually wondering, maybe even predicting eventually that maybe I might pick the Clippers to come out the Western Conference. Like, it's still in play. Like, I'm still debating that reality because that's how good the Clippers have been. And so, look, man, like I said, man, I think the Clippers have been playing unbelievable basketball. James Harden, to me, I think he should make an All-NBA team. I think the shooting efficiency hasn't quite been there this year, but I've just loved how he's been able to hold the fort. He's been steady. He's done a great job leading the team, making big plays as a playmaker. He's been awesome. He's been good. Kawhi Leonard is back playing at full peak condition. Look, I know people are wondering about his health, and is he going to be healthy enough for a full playoff run? And can he maintain this? I get it. But at the moment, he's healthy, and he's looking spry. And so you got Kawhi Leonard, Ivica Zubac, the most underrated big man in the league. When you talk about Ivica Zubac, many people are wondering whether or not this guy could be most improved player. You know what I'm saying? I think it's Dyson Daniels. I'm hoping Dyson Daniels wins that award, but, I wouldn't be mad if Ivica Zubac is number 2 on that list because he's been great. He's been great for the Clippers, on both ends of the floor. This guy is just making an impact on offensively as a rebounder, live threat, post threat, and defensively as a rim protector, shot blocker, rebounder. He's doing enforcer. He's doing it all for the Clippers. And so he's been outstanding. Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, Norman Powell, Chris Dunn, Derrick Jones Jr. They got my man Bogey. I'm loving the Clippers. And look, for the Nuggets. Look, I will say this for the Nuggets. I also said in the episode that I thought that they were wasting Nikola Jokic's career since they fired Mike Malone. And in some ways, I still feel that way. Like I do. I still feel that way. I look at this Nugget team and look, I give them credit for kind of holding the fort a little bit and closing the season. I think they won 3 in a row. And so you give the Nuggets for, finishing the year strong and Jamal Murray's back. But at the end of the day, I don't trust the Nuggets defensively. I don't think they're a good enough defensive team. Like they're 21st in the league in defensive efficiency. Like it's hard to win multiple playoff rounds when you're a bottom 10 defense. And the Denver Nuggets are a bottom 10 defense. And like you compare that to the Clippers are number 3 in the league in defensive efficiency. They're 3. They're 3rd. And so one team is 3rd in defense. The other team is 21st in defense. Now I know the Clippers offense is kind of been mediocre a little bit. I think they're 15th in offense. And so they're average on offense. But guess what? They're getting their guys back healthy. Kawhi Leonard's healthy. James Harden is in peak form. Bogey's comfortable. Norman Powell is getting more comfortable. And so I look at their team. Ivica Zubac, like I mentioned, they got enough offensive firepower. And defensively, that team is going to get after it. And so, look, Nikola Jokic, look, he's the best player in the league. Some people will say he's the MVP of the league, even though I think it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And so it's going to be a battle. Like it's going to be a tough matchup because when you have Nikola Jokic, like you can't rule a team like Denver out with a guy like with Nikola Jokic on your team with the way that he can dominate on the offensive end in the post. The way that he can score and, when you double him, he can find open shooters. He has great passing vision. Like his passing is like when you talk about elite passers, it's Jokic, it's Luka, it's Trae Young, it's James Harden. Just the elite of the elite when it comes to playmaking. And Nikola Jokic is arguably the best passer in the league. And so that's going to be a problem. And Jamal Murray, he's back. He seems like he's going to be healthy. And when he's healthy, man, like he's a guy that can get you 20 to 25 a game. And he's been a perfect complement to Jokic. And so you have a guy like him. Michael Porter Jr. is a quality shooter. You still got Aaron Gordon. So look, Denver got some dudes. But like I said, man, give me the Clippers. My prediction for this series, Clippers in 6. I got the Clippers in 6. I'm going to give the Nuggets 2 games out of respect for Nikola Jokic and his greatness. But give me the Clip show. The Clippers all day, every day. I got the Clippers over the Nuggets in 6 games. And towards the Eastern Conference, the series I'm going to talk about is I want to talk about the Knicks and the Pistons. The Knicks are the 3 seed. They have a record of 51-31, and they're playing the Pistons. And look, good for the Pistons, man. Big ups to the Pistons. Like, they've had an unbelievable year. Cade Cunningham, Absolutely all NBA level player, deserving of it, assuming he gets it. JB Bickerstaff, he's my coach of the year. If I had a vote, I think JB Bickerstaff's done an awesome job. I mean, just developing a culture. And so this is the matchup, Pistons Knicks. And look, man, here I'm gonna start with the Knicks on this because there's a lot that's kind of been made as far as like what they haven't done against elite teams. I think they're 0-10 against the Cavs, the Celtics, the Thunder, and I think the Lakers. They're like 0-10 against those teams, and they've also lost to like the Warriors. They're actually 1-3 against the Pistons this season. And so there's a lot that's been made about the Pistons, the Knicks' inability to beat these elite teams, so to speak. But look, I still got some respect for the Knicks. They're a good team. They're a very good team. Anytime you win over 50 games, you are a very good team. And there are things that have gone right for the Knicks. And so when I look at this matchup, Jalen Brunson is back healthy. And you have Jalen Brunson, who's back healthy, who had an unbelievable year. You got my man Karl Anthony Towns, who's one of the most skilled bigs in the league. I mean, the guy can just do it all as a big man. And so you got Karl Anthony Towns. You got OG Anunoby, who's been on a flat-out tear since the All-Star break. I think he's averaging like, 18, 19 a game on great efficiency and is providing good defense. And so you got great play out of OG Anunoby. Mikal Bridges is back. And you got Josh Hart, who, look, man, Josh Hart just plays hard. All out, balls out, rebounds, passes, does everything. And so that is a very good starting five when you talk about the Knicks. And when you look at starting fives in the league, you'd be hard-pressed to find like 5 better starting lineups than what the Knicks can throw out at you. I mean, their starting five is elite. They have an elite starting five. And so when I look at that and you compare that to the Pistons, and look, big ups to the Pistons. They've had a great year. But if you're just ranking players, between who would be the top 6 guys on both teams in this series? Cade Cunningham will probably be 1 or 2, right? Like if I'm ranking like the best players in this series, Cade Cunningham will probably be about like 1. Or if you wanna give Jalen Brunson a nod because of his playoff resume, as him being the guy, maybe you put him 1. And so if you're ranking players, like Cade will probably be 1 or 2 with Jalen Brunson, but after that, I think the next 4 guys are Knick players. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, and Josh Hart. Like, those will probably be like the next 4 best guys on the Knicks. And to me, that to me is where I think the edge would go to the Knicks for me in this series. It's just they have more top-end talent. And when you look at the Pistons, as incredible as Cade Cunningham is, and he is incredible. I did an episode on him not too long ago, and so I love me some Cade Cunningham. That dude is special, and I think he can give the Knicks some problems. But I think the Knicks have the edge when it comes to just overall talent and supporting cast, and just like a guy like Karl Anthony Towns, his versatility and how he can hit pick and pop threes, he can post you up, he can take you off the dribble. And like if you're the Pistons, like how do you account for that? How do you account for a big like Karl Anthony Towns? I don't know if you can. I look at a guy like Malik Beasley, Malik Beasley's been arguably the 6th man of the year. You know what I'm saying? And so how does he like level up in a playoff series? I don't know. And so you have a guy like him, Tim Hardaway Jr., Tobias Harris, quality veterans, no question about it. But, these are guys that have been kind of lower end role guys on like other teams. Like how would they look if they're scaled up a bit? If they're like your third option, and so I think, to me, like, that's kind of where I'll give the edge to the Knicks in a series like this. Now, I will say this with the Pistons. Whatever they lack in, like, top end talent, they make up for it in grit. This is a team that plays hard. They're tough. You see Jalen Doran, get into it, right? You see a guy like him. You got Asar Thompson. The Thompson twins. The Pistons have a Thompson twin, Asar Thompson. He can get into it. You got the backup big man for the Pistons. I can't remember his name. Forgive me for this. But, he's a guy that gets after it as well. And so, the Pistons, they got some gritty guys on their team. You got a guy like Ron Holland, the rookie. He's a guy, he also gets after it as well. And so, the Pistons, like, they're a gritty team. But again, man, like, when I look at the matchup with this series against the New York Knicks, like, I got Knicks. I'm gonna lean Knicks in this series. I got Knicks in 6 games over the Pistons. And so, yeah, man, give me the Knicks over the Pistons in this series. And the last match I'm going to talk about, Bucks Pacers. Now, I'm going to be honest. I don't know who's going to win this series. Like, I don't know. I have no idea who's going to win this series with the Bucks Pacers, because it's just, I don't know. Like, I think this series is a toss up for me, because on one hand, Giannis is clearly the best player in this series. He's just unbelievable. Giannis, the guy, have y'all seen what this man has done to close out the year? The guy's averaging 30, 10, and 10 every single night. And you look at the playmaking that Giannis has displayed since Dame has been hurt. It's unbelievable. And as a basketball fan, I'm rooting so hard for Giannis to go on a deep playoff run. Like, I want to see Giannis have that 2018 LeBron run. Remember what LeBron did in 2018 when he was all by himself, by his lonesome, and he was just dominating folks, and he had no Kyrie, he had no Kevin. I think he had Kevin Love. Kevin Love maybe was like gimpy. It was LeBron all day doing the heavy lifting, carrying teams, and he carried that team past the 1-seeded Raptors, and then he beat the Celtics, and then he got to the finals. Like, I would love to see Giannis go on a deep playoff run like this, where he's just carrying the Bucks with the uncertainty of Dame and an old Brook Lopez and Kyle Kuzma and Kevin Porter Jr. I'm just like, man, what I'm playing with? Like, I would love to see Giannis do that. And yet, I just don't know. Because as great as Giannis is, when I look at a team like Indiana, and as much as I want to believe in the Bucks and buy into them, it just feels to me that the Pacers are just the more better and connected team compared to where the Bucks are. And it pains me to say it. And so when I look at the Pacers since January, they've been lights out. They've been a very good team. Like, you just got to hand it to the Pacers. They're just a very good team. Rick Carlisle has an identity that he plays. Like, he just has an identity of how he wants the Pacers to play. They play fast. The Pacers are top 10 in the league in pace. They offensively, they play fast. They get up threes. They're 8th in offensive rating. And so they're a very good offense. Defensively, they're not great, but they're better than they were last year. They're 14th in defense. And so they're about an average defense. They're a top 10 offense. They play fast. Tyrese Halliburton, he's not a flashy player, but he's productive. He plays within himself. He's a great passer. He gets everybody involved. He can hit threes. You know, Pascal Siakam. I've always been a Pascal Siakam fan for years. I wanted him to be an Atlanta Hawk for a while, and it never happened. But I wanted him at one point, and he's doing this thing with the Pacers. He was an all-star this year. So you got him. You got Ben Mathurin. You know, you got Miles Turner. You got Aaron Neesmith, Andrew Nembhard. They just got the Pacers just TJ McConnell. They just got a bunch of dudes, man. The Pacers just got a bunch of Obi Toppin, another guy, just playing good. Just guys that know their roles, and they play within themselves. They know, and they kind of know what they are, man. And when you compare that to the Bucks, you know, is Damian Lillard going to play in this series? Like, I don't know. And if Damian Lillard's not in this series, I think it's going to be tough for the Milwaukee Bucks. As incredible as Giannis is, I think it's just going to be tough for him. And so it's hard. I want to believe in Giannis. I want to believe in this Buck team. I really do. But they've been so up and down this season. You know, 1 minute, you know, they're looking good, and then the next minute they go through a slump. You know, Damian Lillard, you know, it just feels to me that the chemistry with Dame it hasn't been quite at the level that I would have expected it to. They haven't been terrible together by any means. Far from it. But it just hasn't, like, meshed. Like, they haven't flowed like peanut butter and jelly. You know what I'm saying? Like, or like pancakes and syrup. Or cheese and eggs. I know I'm bringing up food analogies and all that, but still, like, they just haven't meshed. And now Dame is out, and I don't know. Like, you know, I want to believe in the Bucks, but I look at the Pacers, and I think the Pacers have been a little underrated. Like, I do. Like, I don't think the Pacers are going to win the East or anything like that, but I do think there's a little bit of a lack of respect factor that they probably deserve more than they've gotten. And I look at this matchup with the Pacers and the Bucks, and I look at the Bucks and just, you know, they're an old team. They're an old team. They're not an athletic team. Brook Lopez is getting old. You know, Kyle Kuzma, You know, Kevin Porter Jr. Kevin Porter Jr.'s been playing pretty well lately. You give him credit. Like, Kevin Porter Jr., like, big ups to him. You know, he since the Bucks got him from the Clippers, he's been good. He's been good. So shout out to him. But at the same time, like, he hasn't really been in the playoffs. You know, I don't know what he'll be like in the playoff setting, because he hasn't had that experience. And so I compare all that to what the Pacers have, and I think it's going to be a bit of a tall order for the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, with that said, I also think this is a great matchup for Giannis, because Giannis, I think, will feast on Indiana's front court, because I don't think Indiana is a great rim protecting team. And so Giannis will have all the opportunity to, like, feast on their front court. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if Giannis is averaging like 35 and 18 in this series. So I expect Giannis to eat. I think the question for the Bucks is, can they defend good enough, and can they get another dude to help Giannis out? And I think that's what it's going to come down to. And I just don't know, man. Like, I think Giannis is going to get his in this series, but I look at the Pacers again. Like, I feel like the Pacers, especially with the uncertainty of Damian Lillard, I feel like the Pacers at this moment in time are just the more better, all-around, well-connected basketball team. And that's why I'm going to go with the Indiana Pacers in 6 games in this series. And so there you have it. And so my predictions for the playoffs, at least the playoff games that have been, out there, the teams that we know that are playing, so I got the Lakers in 5 over the Minnesota Timberwolves. I have the Clippers in 6 over the Denver Nuggets. I have the Knicks in 6 over the Detroit Pistons, and give me the Pacers in 6 over the Milwaukee Bucks. And those are my playoff predictions.